How's it going, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to do this video a little bit differently today. I'm going to be hooking up the HEGEL P20 Pre Amp to my system. I've got a couple of RCA cables that I want to attach the CD player to the unit, and then we're going to fire it up and do some sound demos. So come along with me along the journey of just connecting the preamp. I know it's not really magical, cutting edge, brand new technology. It's just for entertainment. So join me and let me know what you think in the comments after the video, and we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think of the sound and the unit itself. If you have any experiences with HEGEL, then let me know, and then I'll be sure to include it in later videos or sample it or use your knowledge or your opinions in later videos or later experiences. The reason why I got this HEGEL unit, one of my either subscribers or viewers had commented that, you know, HEGEL makes some really good stuff. P20 was a really eye-opening experience for me. I took that on advisement, and then I reached out to some friends of mine at HEGEL, and they said, hey, you know, we do have one unit if you want to check it out in your space and see how it sounds before you decide to pick one up. Then cool, let's do that. So thank you very much to HEGEL Canada for sending me a unit that I could demo and borrow for a short period of time before I make my final decision. Now, if I really want to get the HEGEL unit, then obviously that makes it easier. Anyways, join me here for a minute, and I'm going to be connecting my RCA cables on the back of the unit from the CD player. Now I've only got it mic'd up basically through the Osmo Pocket 3, and that's about as close as I want to get to the unit. So the HEGEL P20 on the top, this is my Rotel CD player on the bottom. Now it does have a coaxial cable, but the P20 doesn't have a DAC built in. So what I'm going to be doing is connecting, I have two sets of RCAs, so I'm going to try the fancier looking ones and we'll see what happens. And we're going to let the DAC function in the CD player to be the sound source. And then the other source I'm using is the Weem Pro Plus streamer. So right now the Weem Pro Plus is in the auxiliary input. CD is on the CD input. I've got two RCAs for my subs and two XLRs for my main speakers. So there we go. So this will be the Weem Pro Plus, the CD player, then the subwoofer outputs, the dual RCAs, and then the XLR outputs for my monoblock amps. And then the Weem Pro Plus is here. The coax isn't connected. It's actually just over here because there's no DAC in the P20, which is cool because now I get to experience it without that. Now, I haven't actually fired this thing up yet, so I'm yet to experience what that's like. I've got my laptop set up here, Qobuz running with Connect finally. Thank you to David Solomon for all of his hard work with Qobuz trying to get all of that started. We are going to just set the camera up here while I get this thing rolling. And we'll see how that goes. Framing everything live. See, I don't like editing so that the videos are very smooth. I don't know if you like this style or not. It shows really how much goes involved to making videos, and you can appreciate all the other guys that spend time setting up a shot right, doing the slow motion, spending hours afterwards editing and clipping and putting it all together. Now, that's not really my style. I like my time. So I try to put everything together in my mind, do it all in one flow. Although in this one, I'm going to have to edit two cameras because I've got one shooting the whole room. Hello. And then I've got one here shooting the gear. So I'm going to try and bounce back and forth, where this one's going to be my main video and the other one's just going to accent some of the things that are going on. So anyways, let's proceed, and I'm going to do some left and right checks first because some of the XLR cables and RCA cables might be a little bit off. And first things first, I've actually got to turn the power on to my amplifiers. So let's do that first. We've got first person view here. So I've got this set up where I've got power bars set up left and right, and the left and right power bars actually turn on the left and right power amps. And we'll go around this way. So this just helps me separate the left and right amps from each other, and when I turn them on and off, I can turn on the lights on and off at the same time. Now, I'm coming up with a system of power bars and not isolation, what's the word? Conditioning. I'm going to try to get a proper conditioning power source for the amplifiers and then run the lights on something else. And I know a lot of people will say that any of the electronics is going to run noise back in the system, and I agree with you, and that's why I'm going to change it in the future. So what else do I got to set up? My lights. Let's just run the camera this way for a second. So I've got to put my lights on, crack my knees because I'm old. Very, very riveting video content there. Okay. So are we set up? Basically, you know, do you really need to see my giant forehead? Probably not. Play with me here. Okay. We're all powered up. There's a little bit of a sequence there, powering up my amps. Now we're going to power on the preamp, and as I said before, we're going to run some left and right demo material to make sure that the amps are connected left and right correctly via the tracks. Now I'm going to run some test stuff to begin with, but first things first, let's get it powered on and then we'll go from there. Now, one of the first tests that I wanted to do for the preamp is check for the noise floor. So first things first, let's see if there's any noise coming through. And yeah, there is, just a little bit. I'm actually a little surprised by that. So let's change the source and see what happens. Right now that's on balance. No, that's on CD. So the CD player is currently off. And let's change to auxiliary. And there's still a very, very slight sort of hissing noise floor, which is a surprise to me because I didn't think that something in the range of HEGEL would actually have this kind of sound. It's much, much lower than I remember from my Rotel unit. But if you guys will remember from a couple weeks ago, I'll probably put a link like here in the corner if I remember my editing. I tried out the topping L70 preamp, and the L70 preamp seems to be a very basic unit. It's just RCA ins, XLR ins, and then RCA outs. And it actually was silent, like zero silent. So this surprises me that I'm getting any kind of a noise floor at all from this unit. So let's power something up and give it a whirl. So the one thing that I did here in the L70 was the dynamics seemed a little limited. I was impressed because it was very different from the Rotel that I was just coming from, but it seemed to be limited in a way. The transient responses in that unit didn't seem to like translate well. I didn't hear the kind of immediacy in the songs that I was used to. So the Rotel and the DAC and the Rotel did a really good job as far as those things are concerned. So now this is a chance for me to compare what HEGEL can do in terms of the same inputs, because it's just the DAC and the Wien Pro Plus into the preamp and then out to the speakers and the power amplifiers, of which I'm using Buckeye Purify module amplifiers. Okay, that's interesting. So let's see, does the volume work on the remote? And I guess this would be why. I haven't put the batteries in yet, but this is a metal remote. I've got to open it up to do that. So that's why I haven't done that. So let's just go without that for now. And I will connect to my unit via my laptop here. MacBook, no. Oh, I guess I actually have to power on my other units. When this unit was disconnected, I actually unplugged everything else, and there's no power running to my Weem Pro Plus. So I have to power all that stuff on now. So my CD player is another one that's got to get power. And the USB-C for the Weem Pro Plus. Now this is probably going to take a little while to power on. Good time to have a drink while the power's starting. Now while that's getting ready to load, I can check on my Wi-Fi app here. The Weem system does have a Weem Home app that loads and checks on all the devices. Now once it's loaded, it will show up here. Okay, so it is loaded, it's on the network. I just saw the Qobuz Connect show up, flashed for a second anyways. Let me see, it might be updating. Device info, yes. It does say there is an update for the firmware. So we're going to run the firmware first, and I guess I'll just edit through this part, and then we'll come back in a second. Let me do a clap check, and then we'll be right back. We're back. That took about 10 minutes. I'm gonna put all of the B-roll stuff from that at the end of the video so you can watch all my commentary during that part. Anyways, I got some music playing. You can probably hear that already. And I've got some early thoughts and impressions on the sound already from a CD perspective, or just using the CD for sound demos. So my first observation about the P20 Pre Amp is that, yes, I can hear a little bit of a noise floor, which is less than what I remember from my Rotel experience. For whatever the reason is, I might have to change the input levels. Could be the CD levels. However, when I turned it on before, as you recall in this video, there was no input from anything because the power was disconnected from the CD player and the power was disconnected from my streamer. So there were cables connected, and unless they're acting like a antenna, then the noise floor wasn't coming from an input signal. As you recall, I mentioned at that section when I first powered it on and gave it a listen, I did the same thing with the L70 topping preamp, which I have in the other room, and that video I already linked. I didn't hear anything. It was literally zero noise floor. There was no static, there was no anything, but the sound profile on that preamp didn't sound free in that sense. It sounded like the preamp was reserved and a little bit collapsed. It didn't have the immediacy and notes that I was looking for. So we're going to give the sound profile of the HEGEL a go, and noise floor is one of those things where, depending on the sensitivity of your speakers, how close you're sitting, the room itself, like how much of it can you actually hear from a listening position. Ear right up to the speakers, yeah, I could hear something. The amps themselves are dead quiet. They're, Class D purified modules. They don't have a noise floor if there's no signal coming in. The gates essentially are off, so there's no sound coming through. I don't know that I'm going to be able to hear that noise floor if I pause the music, but let's move on to something else that I noticed a little bit about using the volume control of the P20. Now, in this unit, which I have no idea if it's brand new or a demo model, and I'm going to assume that it's a demo model and it's probably been through a number of hands in the lifetime of this unit. It's a demo unit. When I change the volume, it jumps. I'm only moving it very little bit and it jumps. In the lower volumes, it seems to jump quite a bit. I didn't hear the same thing now that I heard just a few minutes ago, so I might be just clearing the cobwebs. But what I am noticing right away is this unit sounds really snappy. It sounds like I remember HEGEL sounding. HEGEL it seems to bring out the detail in the top end of music, and that's something that I always admired about HEGEL. So in that sense, playing from the CD player, that's what I'm getting here. Let's get a little bit of the music in this video. Yeah, that volume control is very twitchy. I could very, very quickly overpower these amps. So I'm going to turn the input on the amps down. So I have turned the input sensitivity on the amps down. Now my subs are going to be higher than the speakers, but that gives me a little bit more play with the volume. Okay, so one of the other things I wanted to do was I wanted to check my left and right to make sure that everything is working well. So let's change the input. I'm going to pause and turn off the power from my CD player. Thank you very much for your service. I'm going to change to auxiliary input. It's got some amazing clicking going on inside the unit. When you change from source to source on the dial, you can hear this like turn off and turn on again for different sources as you're flicking through them, so that's pretty cool. We're going to use Riddler, we're going to be streaming, so I'm actually going to use Spotify in here too, because if I'm going to find my left and right sort of songs, then I need to demo them.
Left, right test.
Okay.
Headphones that are properly wired.
Finally,
route the left channel to the left earpiece and the right channel to the right. That makes sense. Here is a simple left and right test. This is the left channel.
So right there in that little clip, it took me forever to kind of find it, tells me that my XLR cables are backwards. So I'll be right back. I have to switch all the cables, turn the amps off, switch everything back, turn it all back on again. That sucks, but at least now I know that it's back and forth. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to run this audio test again, put this more in front of me so you can hear the left and right behind the camera. Let's move this camera angle in the way. Okay, I'm going to run this test from the beginning, see how this goes.
Right. Headphones that are properly wired will route the left channel to the left earpiece and the right channel to the right. That makes sense. Here is a simple left and right.
So this is my
test.
right.
This is the left channel. This is the right channel. Left, right. Polarity test. Your headphones may pass the left-right test and still have an issue. Left, right.
I'm going to run it again, and I'm also going to check the subwoofers. So I'm going to put my laptop on the floor, and then what I'm going to do is run and just, because the RCA outputs are also left and right, I'm going to use my hand to detect which subwoofer is running, because the frequencies in the voice should be in that range. So let's use that as an example.
Properly wired will route the left channel to the left.
And yes, I can feel the sub moving.
Channel to the right. That makes sense. Here is a simple left and right test. This is the left channel. This is the right channel.
Confirmed.
Left,
My subs,
right.
my subs are
Polarity
wired left
test.
and right. Okay.
Your headphones may
So,
pass the left-right
I don't
test
necessarily
and still have an issue
need-
with their internal.
I don't necessarily need stereo subs, but for the sake of continuity, I want to make sure that my system is hooked up behind this unit in the right order, because when I'm listening to stereo music, then I can detect or hear any kinds of differences in the songs that are going to stand out. So now I can listen to some audiophile music, give my impressions of these songs, and then I'll come back and just wrap up the video at that point. Just give my impressions based on songs that I've listened to, and we'll see how that goes based on the streaming and based on some CD music, and then I'll do my wrap up. Cool? All right. So I'll see you at the end of the video. Wrap this up within a number of minutes. I don't know how long I'll edit this down to, but I do appreciate being here. Appreciate you being here and listening to my impressions, and I'll give you my full honest opinion and my experiences as I hear it. Because like I say, I don't know if this is a new unit. I don't know what it's been through. I have no confirmation on either or. It wasn't bought and purchased as a new unit, so I have no idea how to evaluate it based on every other unit out there, right? Also, my room is different. My cables are different. It could be any number of things. I'm only giving you what I can experience in my room as I experience it. And I'm not playing favors with Hegel because they did me a favor. I want to be true to the audience and also to them to let them know, hey, this is what I noticed. It's in the public now, but it's also not a fault of the unit. It could be any number of things. So, fair warning, I'll give you my thoughts after my impressions in the music. Cool. All right. Okay, we're using this camera for sound demos. It'll be sliced up into different parts of songs for copyright protection, but you'll get an idea of what I've been listening to. Okay, my subs are tuned up at this point, so let's turn those down. Okay, that was Spotify. So now I'm switching over to Qobuz via Connect. Can run some of the same songs because they don't all transfer. So I'm going to run a different song here. I'm going to take some influence from my friends here and play something Princey. Oh my God, soundstage is massive.
What if half the things I said turned out to be a lie? And if so,
All right, let's try something a little bit different. Let's see how the preamp handles the bass. What I don't like about Qobuz is it doesn't have every song that I load from Spotify to the system. It's the one thing that I don't like about Connect.
You gotta come closer. What you gonna do? You gotta come closer. What you gonna do? You gotta come closer. What you gonna do?
Definitely has the bass, that's for sure. It's actually a lot stronger bass on this system, the way that it's in stereo from the outputs. So I think the preamp output is actually much higher than what I was using on the Rotel or even the other preamp. Definitely has the bass. Okay, a couple more songs. Let's see what Syncato's got for us. Very cool. I like it. I like it.
Lived in the North Country. He heard me burning down. He had daughters 1 to 3 and Vietnam.
Yeah, I think the original CD I had on was just turned up a little bit louder. The amp inputs were up. So maybe that's what it was. God, I love using CDs. These things are amazing. Yep. And then I still think the volume on the volume on the preamp's a little touchy. Just a little bit of movement and the volume is like really high. So I think that's really interesting. I don't know why the volume turns up so fast. Got ready to do the wrap up, I think. Time to record the outro. I actually think this preamp's given some life to the music. It's a little bit more than I remember. I will say though, and I'm going to maintain in my review here, my first impressions or my initial impressions of the differences in preamps that I've had. You have to preface every statement to be as clear and focused as possible. Somebody's going to draw conclusions from it. Anyways, I think it sounds great. I think that the HEGEL sound, that precision, that ability to extract details without it being bright, just further into the music. I was listening to a bunch of clips, which I will edit in from my other camera, the one that's over my shoulder, the one that's now further back in my room. The sound staging width was bigger than I remember in terms of the L70, and even, I mean, the Rotel was a couple weeks ago, and I've listened to lots of systems since then, so this is very memory and subjective take on it. I do think it's got more clarity details. There's more subtlety that I can hear in recordings. Into the room of the recording, the reverb that lingers in the room, that's what I can hear, which is really great. I love that stuff. I don't like it being screechy, and I don't like having the treble turned up in order to hear that stuff, but I like being able to hear it. I will say as much though, the volume attenuator knob is very sensitive. I turn this thing even a little bit and it jumps like a lot. I could probably reach like ear-piercing volume within literally a few notches. Now it's just a dial that you can't even see a dot on, and there's no corresponding positions on it. It's just, I actually don't even know how they use volume control inside the unit. I never asked. But it is very sensitive. You turn it a little bit and you can crank the volume right away. Just even this much of a degree, just this, not this, but like this, and right away it's like, what? I'll give you an example. Screw it. I'll edit it in. Here's the dot. You see where my finger is? Well, that's the end of the song, so that's cheating. Anyways, so yeah, I think that little bit of an example there towards the end of the song showcases how sensitive the volume is. Now, when I first plugged the unit in, I noticed what sounded like pot hiss or scratchiness. You know that sound when you have dirty pots and it makes a bit of scratchy sound. So maybe the contacts inside hadn't been used in a while. I don't know what the case may be. I don't hear it anymore. And even with the volume off, I don't think I'm going to hear that sound from the unit. So that was a little interesting right when I got it plugged in. Otherwise, I think other features of this preamp are their output levels are much higher than I'm used to. The Rotel unit said it was about 2 volts-ish, even XLR or balance. I didn't really hear any of it's hard to compare, I guess, because I hadn't had very many preamps. And looking at the details now, learning about this whole experience, I think this has a lot more output to gain, and that's why you get that volume change very, very quickly. I adjusted the input sensitivity on the gain stage on the amps to be medium instead of high. I don't need them on high for this. This is really easy to push them. I could probably put them on low and be okay, which is going to lower the noise floor even more, so that's good. The RCA outputs are connected to the subs in stereo. I also think that their subwoofer output is higher than what I'm used to. So overall, I'm getting more volume, but I don't want to relate volume to like better or improve, because that's not really the case. What I'm looking for is like the character of the sound. Like I said, it's able to extract more details, which I think is really cool. Really, really nice. Now, it's the same DAC I'm using on the Weem as I was in the L70, but I was using Rotel's built-in DAC. I'm going to have to do a little bit more experimenting, but from my opinion, based on what I've heard of it so far, except for the very minor noise floor that I heard to begin with, now I adjusted it a little bit. Other than that, I think this thing's great. It gets that HEGEL sound, that extraction of details without making everything sound like gleaming bright. You know what I mean? That word gleaming, does any other audiophile use the word gleaming? Look it up. It's out there. It's a word. I'm not making it up. Yeah, I like it. I like this HEGEL unit, and I'm very glad that they decided to send it out to me. A lot of the songs I was listening to had that attack, had that detail, had that dynamic swing, and then all the samples you'll hear. I was able to hear more of like piano subtleties. I was able to hear the shifting in sound. Some of the recordings are not the best, and it's still streaming, so it is still compressed at a mastering level. I kind of wish they had a lot more volume there. Forgive the color balance change. The sun is just going behind the clouds. Anyways, I'm not going to make this video too long because I'm going to have to edit it all together, plus the other videos I had from the Audio Group Denmark event at EQ Audio. Thank you to Ed and Michelle and Matt for hosting that. It was great to see Peter and Win again from Win Audio and Audio Group Denmark rep Peter Hansen. So thanks to those guys. This one, all about the HEGEL unit P20 Pre Amp, and I think this could be a keeper. If I don't come across anything else that's got bells and whistles that I really appreciate, this one sounds really great. It's pretty simple. There's enough analog inputs that I appreciate. There's an XLR input, which I like. I'll probably put another DAC in front of this and a streamer unit, something like that, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, I like this one. So anyways, that's enough for me talking. I'm going to play a little bit of the sound demo, and then we'll just end the video there. Cool? All right. Thanks for joining me. Join me next time. Thank you. I'm just kidding. We'll do a different song. See you in the next one. Do the thing. Hit the buttons. Right there. Hit the buttons. All right. Bye-bye. Yeah, that was fun. See you in the next one. Back. It is still updating! Come on, man! I've got people watching. What are you doing? This is why some people have criticized me to say, you should have everything prepared before you start filming because people don't want to see this kind of thing. I personally think it's funny, but that's because I'm me. I don't know how you all feel about it. You came to hear my impressions on the P20. Overall, it doesn't sound bad so far. Timing. Why does it say congratulations? Like, I didn't do anything. Congratulations, you just waited 10 minutes for this to be done. Do I get a cookie too? Okay, it's ready.